Alright, y'all, we are back and ready for more cute stuff. We have from bunnies to hamsters, Rick Percent, Kirby's Dream Land 2 by ProbablyGeo. Geo, whenever you are ready, reveal to us what a Rick is.
Alright, thank you for the introduction, Happy. Rick Percent is a category that just kind of, as a collective, we came up with, and it is basically, I guess I'll also introduce myself. Hi, I'm ProbablyGeo, he, him pronouns for me. But Rick Percent is a category that is basically the same as any percent, except we have to carry Rick from the second stage in the game to the end of the game, right before the final boss fight, where we cannot carry him any further. And that's about it. It's a little difficult since Rick doesn't have any movement, like any special ways of movement, whereas Ku can fly fast and Kine can go through water very fast. Rick has none of those, so it's just a way to show off our good hamster friend, Rick. And speaking of...
Percent has a pretty big emphasis on actual platforming compared to your average Kirby game. So while the game is possible with Rick, it is a lot more difficult than your average any percent run, and a lot more punching in a few stages in particular.
Yes, exactly. And if we are ready, I can go ahead and start. We all good?
Yeah, you can count down whenever.
Alright, sweet. Countdown from 5 on go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright. So unfortunately we do have to do the first stage without Rick, which is so sad. But Hybrid, you probably know the mechanics better than I. Can you explain what all's happening in 1-1 for me? Oh,
yeah, absolutely. So Kirby's Dream Land 2 has some really fun mechanics with hills, where if you sort of solo these little slopes, where if you jump at the very edge of it, you get a very big speed boost, especially when you have an enemy in your mouth, like sort of in the Inhale or Fat Kirby mode. So 1-1 is actually a surprisingly technical stage where you're trying to do all these little hill jumps to get these boosts of speed. And yeah, as Geo mentioned, this is the only stage in the game that we're doing completely without Rick. We pick up Rick in 1-2. So, yeah, just a lot more standard platforming here, trying to go through as fast as possible. To give a bit more context with the animal friends, this is the first Kirby game that has these animal friends, which are separate from the power-ups that most people know Kirby for, the copy abilities. There's Rick the Hamster, Ku the Owl, and Kine the Fish. So yeah, for the standard 90% run, Ku is very, very broken, is used throughout the entire run, and Kine has a lot of usefulness in water stages, but yeah, Rick almost has no real practical use, as Geo's approaching the time we're actually going to grab Rick now.
other than in 100%, Rick only shows up in 2 stages of best ending and none in any percent. So this gives us our little opportunity to show him off. And the name of the game here is to basically avoid killing as many enemies as possible, since basically all of Rick's copy abilities completely stop his momentum, which is not limited to fire, so we're just going to be dodging as much as we can. The Poppy Bro's on the apples. The apple is where the hitbox is, so we can just jump through him. And for fire, it shoots out just a constant beam of fireballs, which is why I was able to break those 2 blocks a couple of rooms ago so quickly. Since you just hold down the button and it'll shoot fireballs as you stand in place. We'll use this a couple times, mostly since we don't have the best ability in the game for damage output, which is Rick Needle. We'll get that in World 2. Gonna do some movement here right over those guys. It's always very satisfying to do.
Yeah, you can stack both your animal friend and your copy ability. So yeah, as Geo mentioned, the combination of Rick and Needle is actually one of the strongest, best boss killers in the game. Although for the 90% run, you typically can't use it because you're not really going to be grabbing Rick at many points. But throughout this run, pretty much before any boss possible, you really want to grab Needle so you can sort of power through them.
Yep. Wispy gave me a pretty okay pattern. There's always the chance where he will just drop all the apples at once, which is what we want, since other than Needle, Rick doesn't really have many good damage output copy abilities. So we're mostly going to be leaning on Needle for boss fights and stuff like that, other than for Wispy. Now this room has some type movement. Gonna run past here and hail the egg so the bird pops up there. And we can go under him without wasting any time. Now Scarfies, like the one that I just ran into, you can't inhale them in order to take them out. So what you do there is just run into them. At the end of this stage, I'll do a damage boost off of a mushroom guy right here. Hits me to the right, since inhaling all three of them would just take a while, since when you inhale them once, you only take off the mushroom cap, and then you have another part of the mushroom to deal with. There's one little piece of movement where I will stop holding right very briefly in order to jump over that flamer as fast as possible. Very precise jump there. It is possible to not get hit there, but you have to be very close to the Waddle Dee. Grabbing some health here, so we're not in too much danger. Ooh.
Yeah, to give some context for the health with Rick, if you do lose all your health while in Rick, you don't actually get KO'd, you just revert back to base Kirby form, but the rules of this game, or for this category, is that you need to complete every room from when you get Rick to the end of the game, or at least till DDD. So in any situation where Geo loses Rick, what you'll pretty much do is just reset the level from scratch and then keep going from there.
Ah, my jump input. Feeling like a true Kirby runner, complaining about my inputs.
Yeah, all you need to do is miss a door entry or two, and this will be a certified Kirby run.
Oh yeah. Doors are thankfully very easy in this game. I'm gonna grab some more health at the end of this room, right before the jumper shoot fight. Hopefully he's nice, and if he's not nice, it's still workable. Okay, he wasn't very nice, but it was still workable, since I got those hits in so early. And that boss fight is really just a testament to how fast Rick Needle is. You can take out regular mini bosses in only 4 hits. Whereas, like with Coup Cutter, I think it would take 5, and you hit all 3 cutter beams. But anyway, I dropped Needle after there because the previous room and this room have some pretty annoying Needle enemies that are just easier to deal with powerless, and you can just re-inhale it right before the end of the stage.
Yeah, this is one of the few stages that it readily has Needle available. You're not always sometimes as lucky, so there are some times where you might have to backtrack or do the beginning of another level to re-grab it, because it's just that useful for boss fights.
Oh my god. Naruf in this game is kind of my kryptonite. I am not good at fighting Naruf, no matter how much the game wants me to be good by giving me Rick Needle.
One thing we really haven't talked about yet is the RNG in this game. So the pretty much every boss and every mid-boss in this game has a degree of RNG. They have good patterns and bad patterns, and it is kind of a bit of a slot machine at times running this game, no matter the category, as you're hoping to get good boss patterns. Like for Wispy in the very beginning, you're always hoping for apples and not those needle patterns. For Ruff and Nelly, there are some patterns where they'll just sort of stay off screen for 4 to 8 seconds at a time, where you can't really do anything. So, definitely a lot of RNG involved throughout this game, especially for the boss fights.
For sure. Right here we have unique copy ability number 3, which is Rick Stone. You'll be using Rick Stone here and in 4-2. Okay, I grabbed the health. Grabbing that health is real difficult with Rick sometimes, because sometimes the game just doesn't want to cooperate and it'll drop your stone input, so you can't get to it before it reaches the spikes in the one-tile gap, and you just can't get it once they fall down there, since Rick cannot fit into one-tile gaps. Which is the whole reason why we can't bring him into the final boss fight, because there's a nasty little one-tile gap.
Yeah, that's not unique to Rick also, that's for all of the animal friends. So they sort of forcibly do the last boss fight without any animal friends, just as base Kirby. So yeah, World 3 is the first water world, by the way, so a lot of water stages here.
Oh yeah. And Rick doesn't really cooperate too well with water. Nice, got through that damage list. Gonna drop stone here, just because this room is a little easier powerless, and we're gonna be re-grabbing Needle at the end of this stage. Not from the first Needle, but from the second. The first Needle we're gonna kill right there. Jump over the coconut. I don't even know if it's a coconut. It's some sort of nut that falls from that tree. But we're already on to sweet stuff, and Sweet stuff is... Oh, no, I'm... me forgetting which level comes next. We're on to 3-3. This level has some interesting movement. Small jump there to not get hit on the head by the squishy. These turnarounds are pretty precise since you have to both hit the Bronto Burt, not get damaged by the Bronto Burt, and stay on the platform.
3-3 is a pretty notorious level, especially for any percent, because the last room, which is a pure water room with these like underwater windpipes. Trying to keep the animal friends through there is pretty tricky, especially just because of the amount of enemies there.
Luckily for Rick, it's easy since the needle hitbox is very generous, and it also hits above and below just a little bit. So we don't really have to, like, go against the current for part of it or anything like that. We just have to do, like, a couple of turnarounds and then take out the frogs that are in our way. I wanted to show off a cool strat that I had in this room in my No Holidays Allowed run of this game last year, but then I got hit by the second frog and then lost like 3 minutes.
Oh no.
But you know, that was the only major time loss of that run.
Yeah, 3-3 is it's a notorious level.
He gave me the top star first, which is cringe. If he gives you the bottom star first, this fight goes a few seconds faster. But overall, it's pretty easy just because Rick Needle is easy.
Yeah, thankfully, this boss still has a little bit of RNG, but this is probably still the least RNG of any boss. It goes to show how much RNG is actually in this game.
Yeah. The least RNG boss in this category, at least, is Kracko. Since Kracko, notoriously hated by me and many other runners, but in Rick Percent, you just use Rick Needle and make it look like a piece of cake. I'm intentionally jumping far away from these penguins here, so if they do their ice attack, which just shoots a bunch of ice pellets in front of it, I'm as far away as possible so I can jump out of the way. Here's Blocky, he gives us stone. That's all you need to know. You're gonna take stone, because we have a vertical room.
So we have 4-2 coming up, we'll talk a bit about. I know this is no glitches allowed, so we'll call this more of an exploit. But the first room of 4-2 is another wind room, where the game designers intend for you to grab Ku to go through the wind. However, it is possible with a well-timed jump with either Kirby or Rick to just completely ignore the wind room area and to make a precise jump to get to the next room. So that's what Geo is going to be going for, although he's also developed a backup in case you miss this pretty specific, difficult jump to do.
The backup requires very fast mashing. Nope, too early. Alright. Oh, jeez. So when you're playing this on a keyboard, maybe don't bind your B button right next to your pause button, as I have done. But yeah, this mashing is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 inputs per second. Nope, not quite. If I don't get this too quick, I'll probably just soft reset and go for it again. Oh, man.
Yeah, Rick Percent had a bit of an optimization recently thanks to Geo, where this backup was discovered. In the past, if you were doing this run and you missed the jump, all you have to do is soft reset and do it over again. But this is a difficult jump. It's not unusual if you don't have experience. You have to do this half a dozen times or more.
Oh my god, I didn't unstone. I think if I unstoned there, I probably would have gotten in. Not quite. I'm gonna just reset. Give it another go. The regular jump. It also sucks because the stone input you need to get into the door doesn't really have a visual cue. You just kind of have to go at it based on the vibe. And I find it easier if I'm facing left to get the jump. Though I'm sure you can probably do it if you're facing right. Nice, there we go.
Alright. And immediately after, just a very big vertical room with many, many icicles.
Yeah, luckily with these platforms, you can kind of go like a couple pixels onto it, and then immediately change direction and jump again to avoid having to like break all the icicles. And as a reward, you get health at the end of this room. Now we have the Rick roll section, where we roll with Rick. You hold a direction on the
Iconic
D-pad.
Rickroll meme.
Yeah. And now we say goodbye to stone because we need fire.
Yeah, so Kirby's Dream Land 2 is one of the only Kirby's. I mean, I guess a couple of them do this, but especially for the any % run, they force you to grab a couple of abilities for certain sections. So in this area and in another area later on, you need to use fire to essentially melt ice blocks.
Yeah, later on.
So because of this,
we'll need ice.
Because of this, it's technically not possible to do a no copy ability run. You would have to have like an asterisk to say, I will have to use fire for this one section and then get rid of it immediately after. Kind of how for Rick % we have the asterisk, so we'll do everything until 1-2, and then Rick. We just can't.
Tried to inhale my star along with everything else there. It looks cool if you do it properly. Here we have Mr. Frosty. Oh, he gave me a nice pattern. And a double star with
Frosty
nice
can give you some really ugly patterns where you'll essentially just run, and especially the later Frosty fights, not only will you run, but you'll run with ice surrounding him, essentially making him invulnerable. Very, very annoying if you're on a good pace late into the game.
Oh yeah. You can still hit him from behind if you're in 7-3 and he's kicking up dust in front of you.
By the way, the strategy that Geo used for that boss fight is pretty common for any %, where you'll get about a third of the damage on the mini-boss, and then you'll get rid of your ability with a star from the enemy, combine it into a double star, and use that to finish off the bosses. Double stars in this game are incredibly powerful, so assuming you don't need your ability, then using them is very useful for boss fights.
Yeah, especially since we need ice to make things easier, and now we need fire to make things also easier. But one thing with Rick Ice is that it's bad. So, unlike with Kind Ice, you can't move while you're holding the button with it, and you also can't hold it infinitely underwater. So, it completely kills your momentum above water, and underwater you can only hold it for like a third of a second before it just goes away, so you have to time it. Another double star there. I really just picked up fire in the previous stage, just so I could make the first 4 bars of health easier.
Always worth it. Also, because we saw a couple of them in 4-3, and we'll see a couple more throughout the run, you'll see a few of these propeller enemies. If you're a base Kirby, they will not even bother with you. But if you have an animal friend, they will essentially home onto you if you get close to them. And if they touch you, they instantly destroy your animal friend, no matter how much health they have. So that's pretty annoying, but especially for a Rick % run, you need to complete every level of Rick. That will be a reset for any level, and you'll have to redo it. So those little propeller enemies always need to be on the lookout for.
For sure. There are a couple of mean ones in World 5, but I've found ways to get around them guaranteed. This little section here with the cannons. Oh, I swallowed it and didn't run across the cannon. Luckily,
the cannon, another example of RNG, because the rate at which they shoot is completely random.
I didn't even know that.
Yep. So if you can manipulate where they're aiming at based on where you are, but yeah, depending on how long they shoot for is completely random.
We have another boss fight, which means more needle. This is Quagsire, also known as Ice Dragon. Let's see what pattern.
So that's another example of Geo doing a quick backtrack. Thankfully, Needle's at the very beginning of 4-1, so it doesn't take very long. But yeah, backtracking so you can grab Needle to make this boss fight significantly faster. All these boss fights with no copy ability in this game are very slow. Like, they can take minutes.
Especially Ice Dragon.
Whereas they might take less than 10 seconds, maybe less than 5 seconds with Needle.
Yeah.
So anytime you need to backtrack is always going to be worth it.
Gonna have another new ability here after this Grim Hatter. Gonna be grabbing Beam, which just looks like Beam from any other Kirby game, but it's Rick Spark in this game.
Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting thing, because they don't have the full set of copy abilities in KDL2, but some copy abilities like Beam, for example, are essentially a mix of a regular power plus an animal friend.
Went below that Scarfy so I didn't have to wait for him to explode. And Rick Spark is weird because, like you saw there, it'll sometimes just not break one of the blocks. And speaking of breaking blocks, these breakable blocks, you can only be on one of them at a time. And in order to fall through them, you have to break 2 blocks if you have an animal friend. So switching between both of those blocks is important for being fast. It'll be more pertinent in 6.3 and 6.5. RNG Waddle
6.5 in
Dee.
particular is just blocks on blocks on blocks.
And a really hard strat. I could be safe and keep Spark through 6.5, but I'm not going to. Next one's... I thought I was on 5.4. I don't know how I thought that. I'm gonna drop Spark here, grab Needle because of one mini-boss. I'm gonna play it safe and take out the Bronto Birds there. Oh, he gave me a cringe pattern. Yeah, the Bronto Birds will slowly gain on you, and you have to kill him at least once in order to not get hit. Alright, we have Wyu. He's the Cutter mini-boss, and he's now dead. At least this one is. But yeah, we really just need Needle for that mini-boss. Thankfully, it's just right in the way. If you don't have Needle, it's pretty easy to, like, get a double star off of just his attack, since he will have... He has an attack where he just... Oops, I'm on 1 health. He has an attack where he just shoots 2 Cutter beams, and you can combine them into a double star. Gonna have to be careful on my health here. Shouldn't be any issue. As long as I don't hold right through here, because there's an enemy. But...
So we did have our first auto-scroller in 4-4. We have another one here in 5-2. They do ramp up with a few more of the auto-scrollers, especially once you get to World 7, where 4 of the 7 levels actually have one.
Yep. Grabbing health
No
here
real way to
for-
save time here. Just gonna have to...
Gotta take the L.
You just gotta take the L.
Yep. Because I think the next guaranteed health is in, like, 5.5.
Mm-hmm. KDL2 is very nice that there actually is a way to get health in the goal games. Not many Kirbys actually have this essentially as a feature, but especially for a Rick % run, can be very helpful in a pinch.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna stop holding right in the air for just a split second there to get under the Bronto Birds. I've probably already done that at least once in the run without realizing it. That jump's a little difficult. Okay, we have in this next room the first of 2 mean propeller bombs. Oh, he spawned, like, in a different place. Oh, come on. There's a way to get past that Broom Hatter fast, but I did not do that. This propeller bomb is really mean, but if you jump on that little slope there, you can get past him completely safely every time. Before I realized that, it would take probably a good 10 seconds to, like, just have to meander around with him, just to get him out of your way. Because he's in a really mean spot, and not one that you have to worry about in any other category, since I'm pretty sure in any other category you would have Ku.
Yeah, and Ku has so much more flexibility, because Ku doesn't really have to deal with platforming, you just mash and you're flying around at high speeds, so it's only with Rick where you really need to be very conscious of all your jumps.
Another mean propeller bomb here, but if you do a full jump, like max height jump, he'll always go up instead of going straight at you. This is Captain Stitch. He is known by many other mean names, but that's his official name. He gives Needle, and you can only hit him when he doesn't have his spikes around him. So you have to wait for him to do an attack. But he does only take 4 hits to kill, so in this boss fight, any attack, since he has a good amount of space to take him out, a good amount of time that you can take to take him out, any attack, either a dash or a throw, will give you enough time to take him out in 1 cycle. The same cannot be said for the Stitch fight in 7.6. Oh, why did I go so high?
Yeah, there's 3 Stitch fights throughout this game, and they each get progressively a little bit worse, in terms of having slightly more health and typically faster attack patterns.
Yep. The one in 6.4 in this category is definitely the stinker of the 3, since in this category you have to do that fight with ice.
Very fun.
Oh yeah, you can 2-cycle it though.
I imagine the timing for that is pretty tight.
Not easy, and you need to have at least 1 dash. Now we have our 1 convergence with another category in best ending, if you're doing the safe route, you would also have Rick Spark through here.
It's actually kind of funny. Because, yeah, as Geo mentioned, there's like 2 times in the best ending, like the longer categories in this game, where you actually would grab Rick. But for this one, a jump was developed, very, very difficult, but it saves 15 seconds, and you can ignore using Rick completely. So there was one time to use Rick, and it was literally routed out. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, not a good day for any fans of the hamster.
However, it is in the world record now. Reiner didn't go for 5-5 jump in his best ending record, so.
Oh right, yeah, Reiner now has world record. He took it from Play. Shoutouts to Reiner.
Shoutouts
Resident
to Reiner.
KDL2 expert.
Yeah. World record holder of all 3 of the major categories, including 100%, which we don't talk about.
100% is, there's 3 main categories for KDL2, any percent, best ending, which is pretty much the 100% category, and actual 100%, which is best ending if you just added a whole bunch of RNG mini games and kind of made it awful.
And Gooey Girl.
And Gooey Girl, just a ridiculous amount of extra RNG and randomness for a category, or sorry, for a game that already has much of it.
Shout out to the sun for giving me the waiting pattern. I just soft reset too early.
So one thing we haven't even talked about is you can actually soft reset after bosses to skip the Kirby dance animation. But if you do it a little too early on some boss fights, especially Shine and Bright, you have to wait a little bit extra. It doesn't work, and you have to redo the boss fight. Thankfully, Rick and Needle kind of destroy Shine and Bright, which are otherwise very, very annoying.
Oh yeah. Because you're either doing it with Coup Cutter or you're doing it with Kind Stone. And
Kind Stone.
Kind Stone, if you do the 5-5 jump route, and 5-5 jump is already so bad on its own, and just adding Kind Stone into that just makes it a living nightmare.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna drop Needle. Hopefully I won't have to take out any of the enemies in this room.
Cloudy Park is definitely a bit scary, especially 6-1. Very little solid ground, so you do need to be very aware of all your platform, and there's a lot of areas you can just fall.
Yeah, there's gonna be a
as
sketchy
well as,
jump
you
later
know,
in this room.
and of course, no level in Rick percent is complete without a couple of random propeller enemies waiting to ruin your run.
Okay, sketchy jump complete. Just had to jump around the cutter with 1 tile of room on either end. Now we have the room where I can do the Rick dance. You just hit back and forth. Back and forth. You hit left and right a bunch. But that's like the prequel to World 6. 6-2 is where it gets interesting, because we have to use ice for 4 levels.
6-2 is another area where they force you to grab an ability to break certain blocks. Kind of like the using fire for the ice blocks, now we're using ice to break some type of block, some type of unknown block.
Some block that has like a square in it. Oh, it's a circle.
You'd think you'd use ice to cool down the fire and fire to cool down the ice, but you kind of just use ice on the random square block. Also, random Kirby lore. You see these Meta Knight enemies throughout the game, but Meta Knight is not actually in this game, but his minions are.
Yeah, those enemies are known as the Meta Dash Knights. I'm pretty sure. Unless that was... Is it Meta Space Knights or is it Meta Dash Knights?
I think
don't
Meta
remember.
Dash Knights, but actually I'm not sure.
It's one of them. Also, that last room, you literally just jump like 4 times, and I have somehow lost ice in that room. And losing ice there costs about 15 seconds. Alright, there's a cool thing here where I break 2 blocks and then hit 2 enemies. Boom, just like that.
Just like that.
Now we have more frogs, and frogs move very unpredictably, so they can just like do a super far jump and hit you like straight on. That's why I'm
6-3 also...
as possible.
6-3 has one of the coolest parts of any level of any Kirby game, which is the Wind Donut. This is such a cool thing to put in a game that came out so long ago, and considering this is one of the first Kirby games too, very, very annoying for the speed run, but casually, this is a very cool, fun room.
Oh yeah, for sure. So in Rick Percent, you have to have ice in order to do this as fast as possible. And with ice, you'll hit above you. It's one of the few Rick abilities to do so. And then right after that third block breaks, you have to stop holding ice and then immediately hold in to get into the next layer of the wind donut. And now we have this room, which in most other categories you'd have stone. But we don't have stone, so it's a little bit more of a pain. Oh, I didn't think I held ice for long enough to kill that mummies. That's fine though. We take those.
As Geo mentioned earlier, you gotta, break all these blocks by standing on them. But unfortunately, Rick can't fit through one tile gap, so you kind of have to go back and forth to trigger both the blocks to start breaking, and then, finagle around that.
Yeah. Oh boy, it's time for the fun level with the fun fight and the fun room at the end.
6-4. Another notorious level for the typical any percent run, where there's a 1 in 3 chance, literally a 1 in 3 chance to get coup, and if you get it, you're good, and if you don't, you backtrack and lose 30 seconds. So a huge RNG time swing more than halfway into the run, unless you want to do RNG minute, which is difficult to pull off.
RNG minute is cringe, and I will stand by that.
Shoutouts to Reiner, who had an incredible, I believe, 28 streak of not getting coup in a row.
Okay, potential
and the odds of that are astronomical.
Alright, 4 hits. Come on. Come on. Okay, this should be a 2-cycle. Yay! Cool. So, in order to do that fight quickly, you have to turn his... You can either do an ability juggle, which will guarantee a 3-cycle, or you can hit his spikes back at them after turning them into an ice block, which does just under the amount of damage you would do with an ability star, or just by inhaling his needles. So, it's a lot better than ability juggling, and it gives you a chance for a 2-cycle. Now this room is basically the entire reason why we keep ice for as long as we do. It's because ice hits above you, and this has wind that is constantly pushing you up. And I think any other copy ability, other than maybe like Parasol, if you stand in the right place, any other copy ability loses like a minute.
Yeah, this room is incredibly painful without any sort of without ice or a copy ability to break blocks, because you have to inhale them one by one, and it's a terribly slow process.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of terribly slow process, we have 6-5.
I wouldn't even call this terribly slow, I just call it terrible. So I'm grabbing needle here.
So yeah.
There's a faster, or there's a safer strat to grab Spark at the end of this room. However, being safe is cringe, and I don't believe in that. So we're gonna take Needle through this stage and save all of 15 seconds. But that means we have to either do really tight turnaround inputs where we hope that we stay on just one block, where we hope that we stay on a block, but be on the other block enough to stay there, but not activate like the breaking of the block. Or, alternatively, and I found this out by accident that this was possible, you can do 3 very specific jumps in the next room in order to just bypass all of this. And the reason that these jumps are specific is because this wind above me will just launch me backwards. And if I jump too high, I will die. So I'm gonna focus up just a little bit here. Jump 1 is pretty easy.
There's a couple of annoying wind rooms throughout the game, but this last one in 6-5 is one of the trickiest.
Yeah. Thankfully, it gets a little consistent once you do it enough, but it's just a scary little process.
Yeah, Geo made it look easy, but if you mistime one of those jumps, the wind kind of just takes you for a ride, a whole bunch back.
Yep. And then, since the platform under it is breakable blocks, even if you get launched onto a solid platform, you won't be able to move past it, since, like, you'll still have to... You can't float with Rick, and you don't have Q, so you can't fly, so you're kind of just SOL.
Speaking of Q, I did see Q lurking in that bag in 6-6.
Oh, was he?
Shoutouts to our owl friend.
Shoutouts to our owl friend. On God. Now this room, I have lost Needle here an embarrassing amount of times in this next room. And actually once in this room, I somehow died, I somehow got hit by a stone enemy. And since there's wind, I couldn't get my ability star back. But this frog room, since frogs dash at you and you have to turn around, it gets a little convoluted. And you can dodge past a few of them. I am going to take out both of these frogs since I have gotten hit by them multiple times. That was a little too close for comfort. But if you do get hit, you can't re-grab Needle since you're underwater. And you would have to go back into 6-5 and lose all the time save that you gained from doing that level with Needle. And just have to go back and re-grab Needle and lose 15 seconds. If you do the safe route, you have to re-grab Needle before 6-6 anyway.
Mm-hmm. But you absolutely need Needle before you do Kracko, otherwise you're in for a bad time.
Yeah. It will be sad, and there might be tears if I didn't have Needle right now. That was Kracko Phase 1. In any other run, this fight would be absurdly difficult, since Kracko Phase 1 just decides to screw with you constantly and give you just the worst patterns when you're on the best pace. But with Rick, you can just not even bother.
Yeah, Phase 2 is consistent, thankfully, but yeah, Phase 1, you kind of just need to hope that they sort of stay in place as long as possible. Also, there's a weird glitch.
Okay, it was there. Rick nearly kills Kind. Anyway, keep going.
I was gonna say, there's a weird glitch in Kracko that's happened to, I think, 2 different runners, where occasionally, Kracko will just go off screen for 30 seconds, and then reappear. So, if that happens, any good pace run is probably no longer a good pace, and no one knows why it happens or what to do.
Yep.
So that's a fun gameplay glitch.
Oh god, let's not drop Needle. Okay, alright. I don't know. This room is normally easy. I don't know. I don't even know. Yeah, we have World 7
World
here.
7. Yeah, it's a lot of the levels. You pretty much do World 7, and the back half of World 7 is the same levels, but they just sort of mirror flip it with a few minor differences. You know, change a few enemies here and there.
I can do a fast thing here, and it looks kind of cool. So I'm going to stand about here on the screen so they all come from behind. After the 5th enemy, I'm going to run forward, turn around, do that. Aw, dang it. I wasn't quite fast enough. But you can get into that door without getting hit by the bouncy tie. I just think I wasn't far enough to the right of the screen to do it.
Yeah, you can manipulate the enemies based on where you are in a lot of these auto-scrollers.
And if you manipulate them wrong, it gets really out of hand.
They tend to come off-screen very, very quickly.
Oh yeah.
Also, World 7, every single level in this world ends with a different mini-boss, so it's kind of like a boss rush in disguise.
Yeah. There's some difficult jumps here. Missed one. Missed two. Each of those jumps save probably like a second if you hit them. I'm gonna drop Needle here so I can re-grab it here. Just a lot faster than using Needle on all those guys. Another meta dash knight. And then one of many RNG enemies at the end of this room. If this cutter decides to attack early, you can't really react to it. But he did not, so we're fine. Master Green is just kind of a pushover, since you can take him out before he gets a chance to do any attack. But now we have 7-3, and oh boy, Mr. Frosty is certainly an enemy that exists.
Yeah, the Frosty fights, kind of like the Stitch fights, get progressively worse. And especially in the later fights, Frosty pretty much has this, like, ice emerging from him that gives him this partial immunity. And it's very annoying. Or he can stand completely still, which is what you want, but that's not going to happen very often. So, more RNG.
This is another stage where we can re-grab Needle. It'll be towards the end of this auto-scroller, which is one of 2 famous KDL2 pick-a-path auto-scrollers, the other one in 7-6.
Yeah, thankfully this one's a bit more forgiving, but yeah, 7-6 in particular is notorious, because you need to take a very specific path, otherwise you will get crushed.
Yeah, and you really don't know, like, if you're a first-time player, you don't know until it's too late whether you took the wrong path.
Yeah, it's kind of like the castle in the original Mario Bros, but rather than have you redo it over and over again, you just get crushed.
Yeah.
Not fun.
So have fun, yeah. This is the end of the room. Frosty. He didn't be kind. But if you go behind him, there is a chance that he will stop his attack and go into a different attack, which in some cases can mean he'll just start running at you again before you have a chance to kill him.
Yeah, Frosty sometimes will just run for a good 10 seconds. Like, he'll run, the pattern will reset, and he'll decide to run again. It's the absolute worst.
It really sucks, especially in a category where you can't kill him in 4 hits. Okay, there's an enemy coming up. This enemy right here, you can't do anything about. You can't kill him, you can't jump past him, so you just have to take the hit. So, fun mechanic right there. And now we have this room where it's very easy to die. Since if you want to keep Needle through it, you have to do a lot of turnarounds, and they are very fast and relentless. And with Scarfies, you have to wait for the explosions to stop, or you lose your ability. And you have to re-grab it. It's a whole thing. Luckily, we're moving through it pretty well. But like, one dropped input could mean life or death. We have YU. YU's pretty easy, but he does... Aw, he went up to the top. He does teleport, and you, like... Sometimes if he just teleports and doesn't give you, like, a double cutter at the start, you just won't have the chance to kill him before he teleports. I'll hold down here again. 7-2 and 7-5 are both levels where you can just hold down at the start of the level and you'll be fine. A few more evil jumps here. Dang, 0 for 4.
It happens.
They're difficult, very difficult jumps you can do to get this faster. I'm gonna wait for that one since I don't know if I can actually get across that gap. And then another difficult thing that I've only managed to do twice. Doing this room damageless and without killing any enemies, which didn't happen. So I'm just gonna invincibility frame through all of them. And, like usual, another mini-boss.
Yeah, Blocky is another one where he can give a very generous pattern where he's moving slow, or he can pretty much sprint back and forth, left and right, almost indefinitely.
Yep.
So Geo did get the good pattern.
Yeah, I think if he does give you a run pattern, I'm not sure since it hasn't happened in a little while, but I'm pretty sure if he gives you a run pattern, you should still be able to kill him before he starts running. But I'm not sure. Difficult jump here. You have to land on that specific platform in order to do a full jump again over that Gordo and not lose your ability. And since there's wind, you can't get it back. However, if you do it a little too early and get hit to the left by the first Gordo, you can still recover your ability. Alright, I can't forget it. I have to go gamer path. I have to do the gamer path, which is literally just go through the middle.
So the path in a sense is top bottom, but for the third one you can go middle, which has one single enemy. So it's called the quote unquote gamer path if you wanna fight one enemy rather than just completely dodge it.
If you wanna
Other
be
than that,
true
the exact
gamer,
same.
then you go the gamer path. Oh boy, it's Captain Stitch. I'm sure
Captain
missed him.
Stitch.
A throw, so I can only get 3 hits. And like that, you just...
Yeah, this Stitch fight in particular can give you some truly awful patterns where he flies a lot, goes to the top left or top right corner of the screen.
Which especially sucks in Rig Percent, because you just straight up can't get up there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you lose Needle in the first room of 7-6... Oh god. If you lose Needle in the first room of 7-6, you can get it back from Stitch after the fight is over. We have this level. Having 3 health is a little concerning, I'd say. But I should be fine. There's just one room that I'm worried about towards the end with with a bunch of Meta Knights. I definitely hit B there. That's fine though. I'm slightly more concerned now. This room is easy. This room is not. Fast cycle. There we go. Now this is the one we've all been waiting for. Oh, please have enough frames. Okay. What? I swear you can just jump there. You can just jump a needle. I've never had that happen. Okay, well, not quite a deathless run, but...
Not quite.
In the last level that we need Rick, too. That's a shame.
I was gonna say, yeah, as Gio mentioned earlier, you cannot bring Rick into the DDD fight, which is unfortunate because Rick Needle would probably be very good there. But yeah, this is typically what you would do in any run where you would lose Rick, is just soft reset. And thankfully, the game pretty much saves before the level, so you will have Rick back with you. It's not going to have to go backtrack just to grab the hamster.
Yep.
Although it does also save the amount of health you had, so say you're trying to do the level with 1 or 2 health, you will once again have to do it with 1 or 2 health, which is also very punishing.
Got the fast cycle again. Okay, jump past all of them that time. Yeah, like, okay. The game was making sure my ego wasn't too big. Ugh, no. And then another boss fight. So Rick Parasol in this run is technically the only the only ability for Rick that we don't actively use. Since right now, we're gonna go down here and get Rick Cutter for all of 1 second. Like, there's Rick Cutter. That's all we're gonna see of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because now we go up here, 1 tile gap, we have to drop Rick. So,
Yeah,
rip to our friend.
Cutter is definitely the best ability to use when it comes to solo Kirby for the DDD fight.
It's also really easy to get, since you can either go into 7-4 or just have it with Ku if you're doing any other category. He's gonna inhale. Okay. Jumped away quick enough. I'm really bad at timing my hits, so if you see me hit DDD, but it's not a real hit, it's because he just has iframes.
Yeah, you have to wait us iframes after certain hits. I like to do little short hops to almost just for the timing, really. But you know, one thing with DDD is you really do hope he jumps because you can do these double stars, and sometimes you can jump 2 or I think even 3 times in a row. Which
Yeah,
leads
that's
to
time. That's
absurdly
time. That's
fast
time.
fight.
I forgot to mention it, but that is time on DDD. And on the run, for that matter. Thank you.
GG.
Worse problems to have than being surprised how quickly you finish, right?
Mm-hmm.
It goes 45-22. I saw that correctly.
Not too bad, especially given the 4-2 incident and not resetting late enough on Shine and Bright.
Let's say, I think Geo's world record was down like 41 minutes, something like that.
It's a 42-20, I think. I think it's a 42-20. Pretty sure.
Which is pretty impressive considering world record's like a high 36. So you're only losing about 5 minutes committing to Rick for the entire run, which is impressive.
Yeah.
Well,
surprisingly not that slow. Just go through the levels.
If anybody wants to see more Rick or just more of y'all, where can they go?
Yeah, so I infrequently stream on twitch.tv/ProbablyGeo. There might not be Rick content on my Twitch, nor on the Kirby Relay that's happening in 4 days, but that's also happening soon, and me and Hybrid are both involved. I'll be running Kirby Mass Attack, and Hybrid will be running Kirby Superstar. So, if you want to see an awesome relay race with 5 teams playing, like... How many games are there in the Relay Hybrid? Like 10?
I think
12?
we have, 10 or 12. It's about like 15 hours or so straight of Kirby content, like baton-style relay, where someone finishes the game, passes on to the next, and there's 5 teams, 3 from Japan and 2 from Western countries.
Yep.
So, very excited. It's going to be this Saturday night going into Sunday. So if you want to follow Kirby Speedruns on Twitch or Mr. Shasta, which will be the English restream. And if you're curious about any Kirby speedruns, I recommend the Kirby Speedrunning Discord, which you can find on speedrun.com if you go to pretty much any Kirby game. Very, very welcoming community if you're curious to run any of these games.
Indeed.
Very cool. Thank you so much, y'all. Fantastic run. Well underestimate, which we're always going for with speedruns, right?
Heck yeah.
great stuff.
I
Awesome.
made it very generous in case 4-2 decided to be even more mean.
I was gonna say, with Rick
4-2
percent,
did
you
its
never
best.
know.
4-2 did what it could, but it couldn't.
Like
stop.
one missed jump in a stage like 6-5, and that's another 4 minutes of gameplay. Pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
It's a hard.
Not a very forgiving run.
Very unforgiving.
Very, very fun to watch. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate both of you. Great stuff. And
Thanks for having us on.
I'm sure we'll see more of y'all at some point.
I hope so.
Rad. In the meantime, we're going to finish setting up for our next run. We've got 2 more in our cute animals block before we move into a bit of a JRPG block. This is a great day. Cute animals all morning and then JRPGs all afternoon and evening, ending with my favorite JRPG for 8 whole hours at the end of the day. This is a good one. I'm glad I get to be here for the beginning of it with y'all. We're going to move on to Little Samson with Ryan Ford next, followed by Mrs. Cat Between Worlds by Steve TV Online. For those of you with me on the West Coast, it's 9:30. So I'm sorry for yawning, but I've also been awake since 6:15. It's early. I'm sleepy. But you know what? We're having a great time. Having some good speed runs. And we're raising money for a very, very important cause. Go Rescue Pet Adoption Center. And we have another donation to that end. Reoner donated $20 with no comment. Thank you so much for that generous donation. Every little bit helps so much with getting us closer and closer to that goal. Now, our goal for this event is $5,000 by the end of the event, but personally, I'm excited about hitting the $3,000 number because that will put us at 30,000 all-time dollars raised for Go Rescue by No Glitches Allowed, which is absolutely incredible. So we're going to get into the next run as soon as we possibly can, but in the meantime, I'm going to let y'all enjoy some more OC Remix, and I'll see you as soon as we have a runner. popping in because we have another donation. We have $20 from Pro Hybrid that says, shout outs to KDL2 and the Kirby speedrunning community. Thank you so much, Pro Hybrid, for that generous donation. And thank you so much to the Kirby community for showing up in chat. Saw lots of folks hanging out, cheering on their runners. That's one of my favorite things about marathon events is seeing the community show up to support each other and get excited about their run being shown off at a marathon. We are still finishing up some setup things for our next run, but in the meantime, why don't I remind you what we're doing here? No Glitches Allowed is a charity event dedicated to speedruns with very few glitches or without glitches entirely. Everybody remind Osmorn that next time he screams at somebody about something being a glitch. It says very few glitches right there. It's in the text. Everybody, chat, you heard it here first. It's right there in the host guide. Very few glitches. This includes no major glitches, glitchless, and any other run that doesn't have significant tricks or skips. If you're interested in getting involved or finding out more, make sure to join our Discord. Follow us on Twitter to get updates about future events. We're always putting on some cool stuff over here at Noga. We have, obviously, No Glitches Allowed, which you're watching right now. We also do No Holidays Allowed, which is our winter event. And I hear through the grapevine, and by the grapevine I mean the host guide, that Complete-a-thon is coming back. Complete-a-thon is one of my favorite events, which focuses on completionist or 100% categories. And I think it's making a comeback coming up here, so you should check out Complete-a-thon on Twitter, because that's also under the No Glitches Allowed umbrella, and a very, very fun event that I'm definitely hoping comes back, because I will be submitting quite a few things. I'm a big fan of completionist 100% categories.